අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT Mobitel දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුදුයි.
Tonight on First at 9 this Wednesday, the 16th of August 2023. Mission Possible. A team from the IMF is confirmed to land in Sri Lanka in September to review progress for the next payment of $330 million as part of the IMF bailout. Bonds Bond. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka confirms that development bonds issued under the domestic debt optimization has been settled with new treasury bonds denominated in rupees. President and Tea. The President emphasizes the need for innovation and novelty to overcome climate change challenges and global economic contraction at the Tea Traders Association AGM.
You have to think of a new system of management. It has to be top class. You have to use all the technologies you have. You have to use the digital technology. There will be many other technologies that will come.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක. Rhino Cement Roofing Sheets. හොඳම මිලට කල් පවතින වහරයක්.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and a warm welcome to today's edition of AdaDerana's English News, First at 9. I'm Jonathan Benedict. Let's get a look at our top story right now. A panel from the International Monetary Fund is expected to visit Colombo next month for the first review on Sri Lanka's IMF program that was approved in March earlier this year. The IMF team, who will visit Sri Lanka on the 14th of September, is expected to stay in Colombo till the 27th of September. The successful completion of the progress review will help Sri Lanka unlock the second tranche of the bailout package, amounting to approximately $330 million. A team from the International Monetary Fund is expected to visit Sri Lanka on the 14th of September for a progress review meeting of the program which Sri Lanka is currently engaging with the IMF in, following the economic crisis last year. The team of IMF officials are expected to stay in Sri Lanka for 2 weeks, ending 27th September. On the 20th of March this year, the Executive Board of the IMF approved a $2.9 billion bailout package for Sri Lanka. The program is a 48-month extended arrangement under the extended funding facility of the IMF, and the $2.9 billion is dispersed to Sri Lanka under 8 tranches. The first tranche of approximately $330 million was dispersed to the Ministry of Finance on the 22nd of March, 2 days after the approval of the bailout package. In order to receive the second tranche from the IMF, which amounts to around $330 million, Sri Lanka has to complete its upcoming progress review successfully. However, State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya expressed confidence that Sri Lanka can secure the second tranche of the IMF program following the completion of the progress review. According to IMF Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Bro, the IMF-supported program is an opportunity for all Sri Lankans to come together to work through this crisis to restore economic stability and put the country on a sustainable path of growth ahead. President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized the necessity for a novel and innovative program to drive the plantation industry in Sri Lanka forward, with special focus on the tea sector. He stressed that this program should be precisely crafted whilst integrating contemporary digital techniques. Addressing the annual general meeting of the Colombo Tea Traders Association, the president highlighted that the tea industry possesses substantial potential to significantly contribute to the country's economy. Further, he underscored the importance of identifying the challenges within the sector and embracing innovative solutions to facilitate its transformation.
The 129th Annual General Meeting of the Colombo Tea Traders Association was held in Colombo last evening under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
During 2020 and 2021, even though the production came down because of the fertilizer scarcity, what was important was because of the price hike. The people at the ground level gained a higher price. And the production is coming up gradually with the availability of fertilizer, and at the same time we have to face the music again. Now the complaint is from the village level, the ground level, smallholders, the prices are coming down. Partly because of the fact that the production is slightly up, and also on the other hand, rupees getting strengthened little by little. There are few programs starting from the CTTA level and also with the help of the T roadmap, which you are quite aware. Please be assured, whatever the assistance that you may require in relation to those programs, Plantation Ministry and also the Tea Board would provide nothing but the best. Despite the difficulties we encountered, our export income from the tea industry remained at $1.2 billion level. This year also we might get the same amount. We have to create new markets, look at new value additional levels and also create better products on the long run to ensure that Sri Lankan tea retain and go to newer heights.
Looking at the future, Sri Lanka can't stay in this state. We can't be a country with a trade deficit. We can't live beyond our means. We can stabilize the economy. We can ensure that our bankruptcy status will vanish. What do we do to ensure it doesn't return in 10 years' time? After all, if you have trade deficit, you have to keep borrowing foreign currency. And if you have a budget deficit, you have to keep printing money. So are you going into this vicious cycle again? We warned once, warning was not taken seriously this time. So we have to get out. We have to move out of this cycle. We have to think anew. Today we can't have an economy dominated by the government, both in economic terms and also in terms of regulations. So deregulation and private enterprise has to take over. That is what we are aiming for. Tea still has potential. So look into the next 20-30 years. What are your issues? What will it be? Certainly we are going to have a problem with climate change. The tropical belt. So we are now looking at policies to call upon the world to save that tropical belt, where the tea industry comes from. Was the damage due to us or more because the industrialization of the northern part of the world? So we have to speak out. We have to adapt to climate change, and water is going to be critical. I am just reading some reports on water and the fact that we will have climate disasters. Part of it is going to be in the hill country, in your tea estates. Now, as you see, the different changes that are coming in, when you're looking at the outgrow system or the smallholders, you have to think of a new system of management. It has to be top class. You have to use all the technologies you have. You have to use the digital technology. There will be many other technologies that will come. What will be the role even of using of artificial intelligence, the whole biotechnology, food? So that is going to be what will drive finally our tea production. We have to think anew. And that has to mainly come from private capital. So look at what the new product is, what it's going to be. We will help you. We have to modernize. I've been talking with the minister.
State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinga assures that there will be no delay to the implementation of the Aswasuma Social Welfare Benefits Programme due to the resignation of the chairman of the Welfare Benefits Board. He noted that the resignation of the chairman does not prevent the payment for beneficiaries following the completion of eligibility criteria. The State Minister also stated that payments will be made for the elderly, disabled and kidney patients in the coming days. In an X message, formerly Twitter, State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinga stated that provision has been made to pay for kidney patients, disabled and low-income elderly until a new scheme is formulated. The State Minister noted that 517,962 elderly, 88,602 disabled and 41,119 patients with kidney disease will receive their allowances. He added that payments will be made in the coming days, with allowances for the elderly to be made available from post offices, while divisional secretariats will provide allowances for disabled and kidney patients. Further, Semasinga said that there will be no delay to the implementation of the program due to the resignation of the chairman of the Welfare Benefit Board, as reported by the media, adding that the board consists of the chairman and 4 other members. The State Minister of Finance highlighted that the former chairman informed the president that he is resigning from office due to personal reasons, and that the name of special grade retired civil servant Jayantha Vijayaratne has been recommended to the Constitutional Council as the new chairman. He assured that the resignation of the chairman does not prevent payment for the beneficiaries, providing that the necessary criteria has been met, including the opening of accounts or commencement of proceedings for verification of objections and appeals. The State Minister also requested eligible candidates to complete the bank requirement as early as possible. The Australian High Commissioner in Colombo, Paul Stevens, says that Sri Lanka's access to free healthcare poses a positive impact on the socio-economic well-being of the country's population. He made these comments while addressing an event that donated a consignment of medical equipment to the Ministry of Health. Meanwhile, the country representative of the United Nations Population Fund said that they will work with the Ministry of Health to work closely in ensuring that Sri Lanka's healthcare sustainably succeeds. Australian Aid, in collaboration with the United Nations Population Fund, donated medical equipment on sexual and reproductive health worth $2 million to the Health Secretary at the Ministry of Health this morning.
Good health is essential for the survival of men, women and children. It impacts society very broadly, including things such as educational achievement, safety and crime, people's ability to work and to be financially stable, life expectancy, happiness, and many more aspects of livelihood. It's a great positive for Sri Lanka that its people can access a free universal healthcare system, and Sri Lanka records higher than the regional average in healthcare, with a higher life expectancy and lower rates of maternal and infant death than neighbouring countries. But the effects of the COVID pandemic and the more recent economic crisis have forced the Sri Lankan healthcare sector to face numerous challenges, including limited medical supplies and the migration of healthcare professionals. Therefore, the Australian Government is very pleased to support UNFPA and the Ministry of Health by providing sexual and reproductive health-related medical equipment and commodities across 9 districts. We all know that women who have reproductive choices and access to health services are more empowered to seek and keep better jobs, contribute more to their families, and contribute to national economic growth.
The collective effort to strengthen the healthcare delivery through primary healthcare and across 9 major districts that we're working has enabled us and through the ministry to reach vulnerable women with access to family planning commodities and services. At a time where there are significant economic challenges, we know that the vulnerabilities of women and girls can increase. So we are very happy that this support is extremely crucial and it has come at a very crucial time. It is our belief that as we continue to work together, we will get over the major challenges that we have today. To return Sri Lanka to a complete path of self-sustainability and to continue to extend prosperity for the women and girls of Sri Lanka. We believe and we will continue to work with Sri Lanka to achieve zero maternal deaths, zero unmet need for family planning, and of course zero gender-based violence and harmful practices.
These difficult times, we have to look into how we can take care of our most vulnerable groups. These items will directly allow us to reach those groups and ensure our remote health facilities are equipped to better respond to the emergencies and provide the standard of services available in more urban settings.
Employees of the Dr. Neville Fernando Teaching Hospital staged a protest in front of the Health Ministry this morning. Demonstrations complained that following the hospital's acquisition by the government in 2014, their salaries have not been paid properly, adding that they have not received any allowances either. The protesting hospital employees said only portions of their salaries have been paid on several occasions and that they are awaiting a proper solution to the matter. According to an AdaDerana correspondent, 5 demonstrators received the opportunity to discuss their demands with the Secretary to the Ministry of Health. Upon the assurance given by the Health Secretary to carry out a salary payment system properly from next month, the Dr. Neville Fernando Hospital employees called off their protest. A 46-year-old individual was shot dead last night in the Dikwella area, while another individual was reportedly gunned down at his house in Tangol by 2 unidentified gunmen in the latest spree of gun violence in the country. However, the news that dominated attention today was of a fire that had broken out at the Finance Ministry as a result of an electrical fault. The fire has since been subdued. With that, let's take a look at more news in brief from around the island. An individual was gunned down in the Bodharakhanda area in Dikwella last night. The 46-year-old deceased, a resident of Mathura, did not survive after suffering critical gunshot wounds to his head, neck, chest and hip. Although the motive behind the act remains unclear, the Dikwella police is conducting further investigations into the matter. Meanwhile, in Tangol last night, a 35-year-old man was shot dead in his home by 2 unidentified gunmen who arrived on a motorcycle. The victim succumbed to injuries upon admission to the hospital. Further investigations into the matter are being conducted by the Tangol police. An employee of the Dehiwala Zoological Gardens died last evening after a utility pole collapsed on him. The 54-year-old was subsequently rushed to the Colombo South Teaching Hospital in Kalubovila for immediate medical attention. However, the victim succumbed to his injuries shortly upon admission. The deceased has been identified as the Chief Security Officer of the Dehiwala Zoological Gardens. A fire broke out in the Ministry of Finance earlier today following an electrical short circuit. With firefighters and rescue workers being immediately deployed, the blaze was brought under control and completely extinguished. Lots of numbers and lots of business right out of this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
ගොඩමඩ පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ඩීමෝ වෙතින්. වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ඩීමෝ වෙතින්.
The central bank, welcome back. The central bank announced yesterday that Sri Lanka's development bonds issued under the domestic debt optimization program were settled with new treasury bonds denominated in rupees. Qualified Sri Lanka development bonds have been converted into 5 new treasury bonds denominated in Sri Lanka rupees under the new variable rate, and settlement has since been made. The Ministry of Finance presented a proposal to exchange Sri Lanka's development bonds for rupee bonds on July 4th as part of the domestic debt optimization process related to the International Monetary Fund's comprehensive loan program. The central bank sold 190 billion rupees worth of treasury bills at an auction held today, with yields falling across maturities. The central bank sold all offered 97.8 billion rupee 3-month bills at 17.55%, down by 223 basis points from a week earlier, after offering 90 billion rupees. All offered 50 billion rupee bills in 6-month bills were sold at 14.87%, down by 224 basis points, while 32 billion rupee bills of 12-month bills were sold at 13.19%, down by 75 basis points from a week earlier, after offering 40 billion rupees. Moving into stocks news today, the Colombo Bourse ended today's session on a positive note, gaining 162 points after losing 3.7% during the last consecutive 3 sessions. Analysts say improved investor participation on banking sector shares and blue chip companies were witnessed during today's trading session. The all share price index closed in green as a result of price gains in counters such as Commercial Bank, John Keel's Holdings and the Central Finance Company. Treasury shares counters also witnessed revitalized interest. The drop of treasury bill rates at the auctions held earlier today backed improved investor sentiment on treasury counters. Meanwhile, the diversified financial sector positively backed both the index and the turnover with the recent lifting of import restrictions on heavy vehicles. Turnover was recorded at 4.4 billion rupees, 24.5% higher than the monthly average of 3.5 billion. The banking sector contributed 23% of turnover, followed by diversified financial sector and the capital goods sector. The market saw net foreign inflows of 350 million rupees, with the yearly net foreign inflow at 4.2 billion rupees. With that, let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies around the world during the day today. President's Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor on National Security, Sagar Ratnayaka, says countries like Sri Lanka must strategize the defense requirements for the future, and added that Sri Lanka needs to start thinking of how its armed forces can be modernized. He made these comments while addressing the ceremony which handed over the substitute Dornier 228 maritime surveillance aircraft by India to Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, Indian High Commissioner in Colombo, Gopal Bagle, said both India and Sri Lanka share the same vision of becoming developed nations by 2048.
India officially handed over a substitute Dornier 228 maritime surveillance aircraft to President's Senior Advisor on National Security Sagar Ratnayaka during a ceremony held at the Sri Lanka Air Force Base in Katunayaka today.
The vision of our two leaders, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and the Honorable President, His Excellency Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe. The vision of these two leaders is for our people to grow together, to travel together to prosperity, and to build even greater connectivity and stronger economic partnership. This goal will be well served with our great and growing cooperation in the sphere of defense and security. The presence of the Dornier not only adds valuable experience to Sri Lankan Air Force and the capability of its men and women, it also helps, as has been noted, in looking after not only Sri Lanka's security, but also security of the region. Sri Lanka will also continue to play its vital role in ensuring security in the region, and we are even more happy to cooperate and collaborate in that regard. Progress and journey of Sri Lanka from today for the next 25 years of its independence, we both have the same goal of being a developed nation by our respective 100 years. In this journey, the Indian people and the government of India are privileged to be standing shoulder to shoulder with the people of Sri Lanka.
Connectivity is the key word. It's a big word actually. It has a wide area of meaning. It can be road connectivity, it will be people-to-people connectivity, economic connectivity, logistical connectivity, security connectivity. You know, it's large sphere. And we as neighbors cannot change the fact that we are neighbors. We will have to work together to ensure the safety of each other. The threats have evolved over the time. Then came the war. During the war, it was a different role that we played. Our role is different now, and it keeps changing. And within the role, the demands will only keep increasing because everybody's technology will keep improving. So it's important that we as a country strategize our requirements for the future, the defense requirements of the three forces of Sri Lanka. We need to start thinking of that. We need to start thinking of how we modernize our armies, what our strategies would be, and we will be starting on that work, or we have started on that work as we speak. His Excellency the President will announce the way forward on Friday when he speaks at the Naval Pass Out in Bursa.
The Dutch economy entered a period of recession as its GDP shrank 0.3% in the second quarter of this year. According to a first estimate published by Statistics Netherlands today, consumer spending fell 1.6%, while exports were 0.7% lower in the first 3 months of the year. Although inflation in the Netherlands dropped since hitting a peak of 14.5% in September last year, it was still relatively high at around 6% during the months from April to June of this year. The Eurozone's fifth largest economy shrank for the second consecutive quarter after a 0.4% contraction in the first 3 months of the year. Economic growth in the Netherlands had been almost at 5% per year in 2021 and 2022, following a quick recovery from the COVID-19 slump. Moving into oil news, oil prices didn't fluctuate by much on Wednesday as investors weighed worries about China's embattled economy against expectations of tighter supply in the United States. However, both OPEC Plus and the International Energy Agency are banking on China to galvanize crude demand over the rest of 2023. Brent crude futures edged up 27 cents to $85.16 a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate crude crept 29 cents higher to $81.28 a barrel. Both benchmarks fell more than 1% in the previous session to their lowest since August 8th. China's sluggish economy is in focus after retail sales, industrial output and investment figures failed to match expectations, fueling concern over a deeper, long-lasting slowdown in growth. This July activity data has prompted concerns that China may struggle to meet its growth target of about 5% for the year without more fiscal stimulus. China's central bank made a marginal cut to interest rates after data that highlighted intensifying pressure on the economy, mainly from the property sector, though analysts say the cut was too small to make a meaningful difference. Both the OPEC Plus group and the International Energy Agency are banking on China, the world's biggest oil importer, to galvanize crude demand over the rest of 2023. Meanwhile, US crude stocks dropped by about 6.2 million barrels last week. Supply cuts from Saudi Arabia and Russia have pushed up oil prices over the past 7 weeks. That tonight wraps up all the news I have for you this evening. Do join us again tomorrow at the same time for more up-to-date news from Sri Lanka and around the world. I'm Jonathan Benedict wishing you a good night and a blessed Thursday ahead.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.